Deep in the heart of the rainforest, a creature no larger than a coin embarks on a perilous mission. He is a poison arrow frog, a tiny amphibian with a duty far greater than his size. While most fathers in the animal kingdom play little to no role in raising their young, this dedicated parent takes on a challenge that would make even the mightiest creatures seem unworthy of the title father. His task? Transporting his fragile, helpless tadpoles, one by one, to secret nurseries hidden high above the forest floor. And as he journeys across a world filled with unseen dangers, he will face a race against time, a battle against hunger, and the relentless pressure to keep his offspring alive. In the dense, humid undergrowth of the rainforest, dozens of tiny eggs cling to the broad surface of a leaf, glistening in the filtered sunlight. Inside each one, life is beginning to stir. Soon the eggs rupture, releasing tiny, wriggling tadpoles into a world that is both beautiful and perilous. Unlike their cousins who hatch directly into the water, these tadpoles are completely dependent on their father. Without his help, they will die. The father, no bigger than a human thumbnail, climbs onto the leaf, his skin shining with a striking mix of electric blue and deep yellow. He carefully examines his young, sensing the urgency of his mission. If he waits too long, the heat of the day will dry out their fragile, jelly-like bodies. If he moves too quickly, he risks drawing attention to the deadly predators lurking in the shadows. One by one, he allows each tadpole to wriggle onto his back, their tiny, translucent forms pressing against his skin. They cling instinctively, desperate to hold on. With his cargo secured, he takes a leap, his first step in a journey that will test every ounce of his strength and determination. The path ahead is treacherous. The rainforest, while breathtaking in its beauty, is a battlefield of survival. Every leaf is a potential hiding place for predators, hungry spiders with fangs primed to pierce soft flesh, watchful snakes coiled in anticipation, and birds scanning the canopy for their next meal. The father must remain cautious. His every move must be precise, every jump calculated. If he falls, it's over. If he is spotted, his young will never reach their destination. His goal is simple but incredibly difficult. He must locate the perfect nursery, a pool of water cradled within the curled leaves of bromeliad plants high in the treetops. These miniature reservoirs formed by rainwater offer his young the safest possible start in life. But reaching them is another story. With each leap, the father scales the massive trunks of ancient trees, his tiny toes gripping the moist bark as he ascends. The climb is exhausting, yet he pushes on. Hours pass, and at last he reaches his first destination, a towering bromeliad resting in the crook of a thick branch. He approaches cautiously, his senses on high alert. Danger is never far away, even in what seems like the perfect nursery. Some of these pools already harbor life, larvae, insects, even predatory beetles that would see his young as an easy meal. The father cannot afford to make a mistake. Carefully, he inspects the water. It is clear, untouched. This pool will do. Slowly, he lowers his first tadpole into the water. It hesitates for a moment before releasing its grip and drifting into its new home. One down. But the work is far from over. The father must now remember exactly where he left his offspring, for his duty doesn't end with delivery. He must return to check on them, to ensure they are safe. More importantly, he must find a way to feed them. But before that, there are others who still need placement. And so he turns and begins the arduous climb back down, only to repeat the journey again. For days, this pattern continues. Each trip is a marathon, each leap a test of endurance. One by one, his young are carefully placed into their individual nurseries, each in a different location to prevent competition. But even as he completes his final delivery, another challenge begins. The tadpoles may be safe from predators for now, but their battle for survival is just beginning. They are completely dependent on their father's next move, and that move requires help. In one of the pools, a tadpole is growing restless. It has been days since it was placed here, and it has begun to feel the pangs of hunger. Its tiny developing body demands sustenance, but the pool offers nothing. Instinctively, it begins to vibrate, sending subtle pulses through the water. But it doesn't stop there. It has learned that its father is the key to its survival, and so it signals its distress in the only way it knows how, by nibbling at his legs when he arrives. The father understands, but there is nothing he can do alone. He must summon his mate. With a series of chirping calls, he sends out his plea. The sound echoes through the forest, bouncing between the thick canopy. He waits. Nothing. He calls again. The moments stretch into an eternity. Then movement, a shadow shifting through the leaves. His mate has arrived. She watches from a distance, assessing the situation. He calls again, urging her forward. Finally, she leaps down to the edge of the pool, her bright golden skin glowing in the dim light. But she hesitates. She jumps into the pool, swims for a moment, then exits without leaving anything behind. The father calls again, more urgently this time. This is a matter of life and death. The tadpole is growing weaker. If the mother does not provide, it will not survive. Then, after what feels like an eternity, she jumps back in. This time, she does what is needed. A single unfertilized egg sinks into the water. The tadpole wastes no time. It lunges forward, devouring the egg, its only source of nourishment. This is how it must be. Unlike other frogs, poison arrow frog tadpoles do not feed on algae or tiny insects. They rely entirely on their mother's unfertilized eggs for sustenance, and without them, they will wither away. The father watches closely as the tadpole settles, its hunger momentarily satisfied. He and his mate share a brief moment of stillness. In the amphibian world, such gestures are rare, yet here in the depths of the rainforest they serve as a fleeting reminder of the strength found in unity. But there is no time to rest. The father must continue his patrols, must continue checking on each of his young, must ensure that every call for help is answered. His work is never done. And so he leaps away, disappearing into the shadows, ready to repeat the cycle once more. This is the life of a poison arrow frog father. Tireless, unrelenting. Against impossible odds, he carries the weight of his young's survival on his tiny, fragile back, and yet, through sheer determination, he prevails. He is living proof that in the vast, untamed wilderness, the greatest stories of devotion often come from the smallest of creatures.